Good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. Sean Cullen and I would like to, as joint program managers for INFOMAR, give you an update on our program, the activity we've been involved in recently, and our 2021 survey plans. I also want to give you key dates for our annual seminar, which will take place November 15th coming in Cork, hopefully in person, all going well. And it's back to back with Hydro 21, which is an international conference for hydrography, November 16th to 18th, also in Cork. I also want to touch on some of the research and innovation projects we're involved with, and Sean will focus in on some of the points that I've been touching on. For anybody who's not aware of INFOMAR, it's the National Seabed Mapping Programme. It is funded by the Department of Environment, Climate and Communications. It runs through to end 2026 with an overall funding envelope of 80 million euros and a cost-benefit analysis indicating a return on investment to the state of 4 to 6 times. It's a GSI and MI partnership. We jointly manage the programme. We are addressing Action 23 of the Harnessing Our Ocean Wealth. We're embedded in the 2020 programme for government and also in the Climate Action Plan. Our focus is large-scale mapping, acquiring seabed data. We have a sub-programme also on data exchange integration and on value-added exploitation. We're supporting cross-sectoral development in Ireland and spatial resource and risk management. The plan is to grow data availability, scientific advice, and to generate economic impact. We want to deliver data-enabled decisions for Ireland. The model is to develop relevant outputs, to grow capacity build and partnerships, and to increase infrastructure, knowledge and collaboration in the marine. From a technology perspective, we want to utilise state-of-the-art equipment. We deploy multiple platforms from drones through to vessels, and we use remote sensing. We are also involved in a lot of research and innovation projects which we leverage to support the above. We want to strengthen data integration and interdisciplinary engagement. And the products we create are all free, open and accessible for exploration, development and blue growth in Ireland. INFOMAR activity is tracked through our website primarily. You can look at our surveys tab and you can drill down to the plans in progress by year. The last full publication of our annual activity has been in 2019. The current 2020 report is being finalised and will be published in Q2. Data, maps and equipment relevant to offshore renewable energy. Multi-beam acoustics is our primary tool. We generate full coverage bathymetry and backscatter maps, as you see on the left there. But we also have geophysical tools, sub-bottom profile data, bottom center image, which, if the penetration is good enough to reach bedrock, allows us to generate isopachs, thickness to bedrock, for example. We have an array of ground truthing and geophysical tools to acquire ancillary data to augment the acoustics. The web map services will be touched on by Peter shortly, but just to show you an example, this is a seabed classification map, and it's a blend of physical sample locations and acoustic data which we use to derive these interpretive products of our seabed class. Towards full coverage mapping, our aspiration is full land-to-sea integrated models. We have web map services demonstrating the coverage to date. It takes time to get the data from the vessel processed and into these services. So the coverage that you see on our bathymetric viewer is slightly behind the time. We acquired data in 2020, which is currently just being finalized in terms of processing, and that will be added into the viewer in due course. The areas that are hatched in this graphic in the red polygon there are areas that we targeted in 2020, and despite the COVID challenges that were in the year we had a very successful year, and we managed to keep operations up and running. We now have 39,000 square kilometres approximately left to map offshore Ireland to fill in the gaps that are in blue on those two graphics. We're averaging about 10,400 square kilometres per year over the last 3 years, so we're well on track to completing in 2026. This year, we will be doing a lot of work on processing, interpretation, and data integration to update the web services to reflect more closely where we are in terms of full coverage to date. This is on the left, a graphic showing our 2021 survey plan. The larger Marine Institute vessels will work to the south and hopefully touch a little bit on the northwest off Donegal to support an interreg project. And the inshore geological survey fleet will work coastally and in the contingency area to the southwest and west. In terms of value-added exploitation and research and innovation activity, we're trying to span key areas. In terms of land to sea, the Geological Survey are involved in the Cherish Ireland Wales Programme funded initiative, which is Coastal Marine Heritage. Both organisations are involved in different strands of EMODNet, that's the European Marine Observation Data Network. We have collectively developed and delivered an MSc module in seabed mapping. In terms of mapping to model, Marine Institute is involved in a Horizon 2020 programme, Mission Atlantic, in and around ecosystem assessment. We have collectively input with multiple government departments on the Sea Rover project, acquiring 3 years of large-scale benthic habitat, reef habitat mapping offshore using the ROV Holland 1, and that's currently undergoing a synthesis report, which will inform policy. From the perspective of advancing technology, we have a lot of smaller projects, but the Geological Survey of Ireland are involved in a coastal vulnerability project funded by the European Space Agency. At this point, I'm going to hand you back to Sean Cullen in Geological Survey to pick up on a few finer details that I've touched on during the course of the slides. Thank you.
Well, thanks for that, Tommy. That was a great overview of INFOMAR. I'm just going to concentrate a little bit on the data now. As Tommy was saying there, the area covered by INFOMAR is huge. And you can see from the sort of overview images, like this one here, which is some of the inshore mapping, that quite big areas offshore are covered. And a lot of that in resolution terms, you would see on our viewers at around either 2-meter grids or 5-meter grids. But as we move closer inshore, you can see that there's a lot more effort that goes in as it gets shallower and shallower to cover the same sort of areas. And this is the southwest of Ireland, and you can see in Kenmare River there's what we call the white ribbon left around the edges of the data that's already been gathered. But in and around Baltimore and Bantry Bay, you can see we've gone really close inshore. And that's pretty much the way we've mapped all the way from Dundalk in the northeast, all the way down the east coast and the south coast. And now we're just starting to turn the corner to go up north along the west coast. So this is just another representation of the data in and around Roaring Water Bay. And you can see as we zoom in on the data, how much more of the resolution sort of jumps out at you. And a lot of this data now would be gridded at 2 meters. And then as we get really close inshore there, this is where the value to the ORE sector is going to be looking at the coastline really for landing areas for cables. And I think it's invaluable to look at data in this sort of detail, which travels all the way offshore, and picking out routes to come ashore are going to be key. And I think INFOMAR data is going to be a big player in that sector. This is just zooming right in now. That's the Bull and the Calf off Dursey Island. And you can see the geology very clearly there. And again, this is gridded at 2 meters. But what I do just want to get across to everybody today is that we have this data in the raw format. So if developers want to look at the data in its highest resolution, we can supply the data in the raw format. However, you would have to have a fairly large server and the software to deal with that. But we are open to negotiate on how we can help you out in that department. And then just finally, Looking at the resolution side, this is the wreck, the Manchester Merchant in Dingle Bay. And here you can see the resolution of individual ribs and the boilers and the propeller shaft on the ship that's sank there. And then just finally, to reiterate the fact that we come in that close to shore, this is something we hope that's of use to the ORE industry. So thanks very much for watching, and I hope we can see you all in person in November at our seminar on November the 15th down in Cork. Thank you.